This is BYD's headquarters, the home of the largest electric car company in the world. So why is there a train here? Trains and cars are famously nothing alike. Cars have doors, they have wheels, they have motors, whereas trains, they have doors, they have wheels, they have motors. This is the Sky Shuttle, a battery-powered, driverless tram system from BYD. I'm here to see, is it just another transit project that promises to re-engineer infrastructure and just tries to recreate cars? Or is it actually an interesting concept for the future of transportation? Well, the train's about to arrive, so let's go. When you get down to it, a train is basically a big motor on top of a track, and most of the time that track is a rail, but not all the time. Take a look at this Paris Metro, or Paris Tram, or other French tram. Gee, I wonder if France has a large tire manufacturer that likes to sell tires. Either way, as you can see, the tracks are not rails, so this is a rubber-tired, essentially a bus. Let's take a look at the Sky Shuttle's quirks and features. Depending on the configuration, it can go from 2 cars to 8 cars. It can fit 210 passengers, which places it right in between buses and trams, and can be extended as well for higher capacity, though that requires stations that are adapted. It is battery powered by BYD's Blade batteries, giving it a range of 80 kilometers, though I'm sure that drops during, well, the heat of the summer when it's running AC. There are plenty of train manufacturers in the world. Why would BYD want to build their own? Well, let's take a look at the case study of BYD's headquarters. With what I heard was 10,000 to 40,000 staff. If you're trying to cross it by foot, then that takes a very long time. If you say, well, they should use a bus, that is what they used to do. But given how large the park is, it's crossed at points by highways, which would slow down the buses to 12 minutes. For a company as efficiency-focused as BYD, 12 minutes times 40,000 employees, that becomes a problem worth fixing. BYD created this tram to bridge all of its office spaces together with constraints that are very similar to what you would see in an airport. The stops are placed a relatively short distance apart because, for now at least, it still is an office complex and not a whole city. So there is a need for these trains to speed up and brake relatively quickly, which the rubber tires help with. And since it's fitting into an existing office architecture, they do have to go up and down much faster than, for example, a metro system would, which means that the rubber tires do make sense because they allow trains to climb up higher slopes because of the higher friction from rubber. I don't have exact pricing on how much this transit system costs to build compared to other light rail or metro systems, but given that it's BYD, I'm pretty confident that it's on par with the pricing of other competitors. Where we get to the downsides is that this is BYD proprietary technology. This proprietary design allows them to run tracks that are smaller and less obtrusive than regular rail tracks. Which is great for BYD, they get to operate it and to use it for their office. Where it gets a little bit more iffy for me is when it gets deployed as light rail for cities in China, for example, Chengdu, Chongqing, Xi'an, and Jinan. If you're building a subway and you rely on one single manufacturer, and they decided, oh, we're not building that train anymore, good luck, then you're kind of out of luck. That is something that has happened to other transit agencies where they've built up a rail system depending on one single manufacturer having multiple potential suppliers allows transit agencies to negotiate better prices with train providers. And that's not something that you get when you have a proprietary system like a monorail, like the BYD Sky Shuttle. I came into this project rather skeptical of the Sky Shuttle, and I do still have my reservations, as I talked about just before. But technically, it's a very interesting device. With a capacity of 20 to 40,000 people per day in elevated tracks that are apparently relatively cheap to build, with its capacity to charge 1 kilometer every 30 seconds, that enables systems where, for example, in Xi'an, they don't have to build out all the expensive charging infrastructure or power lines that they would have needed otherwise. In the city center, they can rely on cheaper stations on the outskirts to do the charging for them. If it gets more people out of their cars and into public transit, then that's a win in my book. Now, I would say it's time for me to catch my train, but it's time for me to catch my diesel-powered boat. Until next time, take care.